Welcome to Wealth Made Simple with Shaz, where you'll learn how to master your money through business, property, and tax-saving strategies. Your host has collectively helped his clients make tens of millions of pounds in additional profits through these strategic approaches to business. Introducing Shaz Nawaz, an award-winning chartered accountant, property tax expert, entrepreneur, and property investor.
Power teams.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they important?
Because they've got power.
And that's all we have for this week. No. On a serious note, though, you've got quite an extensive power team behind you, people that help you, support you, run at the same pace as you, and help you achieve your goals.
They're not behind me, they're in front of me, Kieran.
Well, you support them, they support you, behind, in front, you know.
Beside
you, with you.
It's going to be one of those.
Is it going to be one of those days today? Okay.
I told you to be nice to me today, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. But you know, we've gone through before, and we will touch on it again this week. Who you should have in your power team, and you know what the power team is consisted of. But something that we usually gloss over, so I thought, you know, this week would have a little deeper dive into it, is the why the power team is important. Because, I mean, you don't know what you don't know. You know, that's something that we've said a number of times on this show. And there are people out there who know and are specialists in the areas that you don't know. And that's one of the biggest purposes of having a power team, is access to that specialist information. Because if you're, for example, a jack of all trades, you know a bit about this, a bit about this, a bit about that, a bit about the other. That's all well and good. But when somebody asks you something supremely technical about whichever subject it is, you might know the general answer, but not have a complete understanding of why it's that answer, how you get to that answer, you know, the purpose behind it, and all the rest of that. If you're a specialist and someone asks you about, you know, say you're a specialist woodworker or a carpenter, all you've done is carpentry your entire life, and somebody asks you a question about carpentry, you'll be able to answer it. Someone asks you a question about metalworking, you might have a vague idea because, you know, you've worked with metal workers before, blacksmiths and metallurgists and those types of people. So you might be able to go, well, yes, I mean, the basics, as I understand it, are this, but that's all you'll ever be able to tell someone is the basics of. As opposed to, you know, you specialize in carpentry and someone says, okay, well, what's the best way to connect two pieces of wood, you know, for example. And you go, okay, well, what sort of wood is it? How are they connecting in terms of what angle do you want them to connect at? Are they sticking on top of each other? Are they Suddenly you've got a list of 95 different questions to ask because this is your expertise. And having the answers to those questions lets you give someone a much more detailed, a much more personalized answer.
I think you're right then. You ask a good question. The first thing I'd say is people have to put things into context. So going to a shop and buying something like a new phone, for example, Kieran, okay? Some people may do some research online, talk to their friends, however they get to the information. Some people are avid followers, okay, buyers of a particular brand, and when the next one comes out, they buy it, or if they skip one or two releases, they'll buy the third, fourth one, whatever their pattern is, okay?
Yeah.
And we're used to that form of buying and spending some money, be it £1 to £5,000. I think the first thing people need to realize is, and put into context, is when you're buying property, it's a huge amount of money.
Yes.
Okay, and we're just using an example because we've got to come up with some figure, and we can't qualify and quantify for every single part of the country and people who are listening in. But let's say it's 250 grand.
Yep.
and just say it's a 3-bedroom house. Okay, I don't know if the price is different in central London compared to if you're buying in Durham, for example. Okay, I get that.
Yep.
Everybody gets that. But if you're spending that kind of money, then you've got to make sure that you've got the right expertise around you, because A, it's a complicated transaction. It's not straightforward. A lot of moving parts. Okay, and B, you're spending more money. Then this applies to most people, by the way, than they have ever done before. Not those who've obviously got a portfolio and bought loads of property. I'm just talking about people who are new, who are buying their first property or the first, second property, and the first one they bought for 150 grand, for example. Maybe second one for 200, third one for 250, because that's how it usually goes. And so you need to make sure you've got a team around you who can advise you on this extremely complicated, and it can be extremely complicated depending on what's happening in the property and around the property, but also a high value item. So don't treat it like you're buying a phone, or don't treat it like you're even buying a car to some extent, even though people do a lot of research on those things. As you know, some people go to the nth degree when they're buying a car to find out everything from its value, and if it's had any accidents, to how much it depreciates, how much it's brand new, what extras it's got, so on and so forth. And different people look for different things.
But essentially, a lot of those people will still just buy a house on feeling.
Yeah, and this is what I'm saying. So, you've got to put it into context. Say, this is a very different type of purchase. So therefore, who are the people I need around me to make sure I get this right? Because you can't afford to get it wrong. I mean, you can if you've got a huge property portfolio and you've got, say, 30 properties, and one of them ends up being, to some extent, a not so good purchase. That person can live with it to some extent. Somebody who's got one property or no properties and buying the first one and they get it wrong for whatever reason, okay, that's them out.
Yeah. But I mean, also, if you've got to the stage where you've got 30 properties,
you'll know what you're doing to some extent.
You'll have that much more experience, that much more backing, that much more understanding, that much of a deeper idea of what it is you're doing. And so you won't make those mistakes, because you'll be 30 properties. I mean, I would argue that nobody who's got 30 properties has done it by themselves. They've all done it with their power team. But
you got somebody sat somewhere in a room, okay, having a coffee and talking to somebody else, and what do you do? Well, I'm in property, and okay, and they share everything with you about their property, and okay, and they may be talking, oh, I've just bought one now, and I went to auction, or I spoke to a deal source, or I spoke to an agent, or I spoke to a contact, or I did some direct to vendor marketing, and I bought a property, and they talk them through the transaction. This person who's got no experience listens to how they've done it, not quite clicking that they've done this 29 times before because this is their 30th property, and follows that particular model without having all the advice around them, just because that person said they've done it. Do that make sense?
Yes,
they've kind of not paid attention to the fact that they've got 29 other properties and they know what they're doing, and they could get it wrong. So that's why you've got to have a power team around you, people who know what they're talking about. And it's a bit cliche, but if you go to your GP and you've got a problem with your eye or your ear or your throat or your heart or any other part of your body, you end up going to a specialist, and then that specialist might send you to a consultant or somebody who's an even more of a specialist, because you've got a particular type of skin condition perhaps, where you need to see somebody who only deals in that type of skin condition, so on and so forth. The same, if we're talking about buying cars, somebody who does body work doesn't do servicing, repairs, maintenance, MOTs, so on and so forth. Different people specialize in different parts of when it comes to working on a car. The same with property, so you need a solicitor, okay, to get through the.
But not just any solicitor will do.
It has to be somebody who is a conveyancer and who understands property.
Because there's no point going to an employment lawyer, solicitor.
Yeah, again, using your early example, they'll have an appreciation, understanding, depending on the type of firm they work for, because they'll have colleagues or know of colleagues who work in property. But again, you'll have to go to a property specialist. Then obviously you'll need an accountant, depending on the type of work you're doing. You'll need a building surveyor. You may need a quantity surveyor. You may need a builder. You may need a plumber. You may need an electrician. Okay, you may want to get the property valued before you actually have it valued for, if you've got funding for bank purposes or lender's purposes. These are some of, and then obviously if you've got planning issues or you want to obtain planning, you'll need an architect, you need a planning consultant, so on and so forth. And so these are the people who know their field better than you do, because I've not met anybody who can do all those things and is a property investor, by the way. I don't think I'm going to either, because that's a whole industry. And if they do, by the way, they'll have a good appreciation at best. They want all of those, and they want to have, let's say, 20 years experience of doing over each one of those particular jobs.
No.
So you need those people around you to make sure you do things properly, especially if you want to run a proper professional business. Then you need people around you who can help and guide and support you, A, to do things the right way, and B, to reduce, minimize, mitigate, eliminate mistakes.
Yeah. And it's interesting, because if you, like you say, if you are going to do this as a business and pursue it as an actual, career choice, if you like, as a property entrepreneur, then something that initially has an outlay, so your quantity supplier, your project manager, your solicitor, your architect, etc., 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 your property tax advisor, all of these have an initial outlay and a cost associated with them, because they are professionals, they are experts at what they do. But I can promise you this: the speed that they save you, and the time and the mistakes they stop you from making, will more than cover the cost of each of these professionals.
Absolutely,
Easily.
absolutely. And I can very safely and easily say that to you, from based on experience and having done this for a long time, over 2 decades now, that every time I've used somebody, that's been true. As long as you give them the correct brief, and this is what I want you to do, and and that they know exactly what they're doing, they will always save you money and help you avoid wasting money, one or the other.
Yeah, and I mean, it will be simple things like, as we were talking about the carpenter earlier, well, how are you joining it together? How are you connecting? They've got a list of questions that they're going to ask you because of their depth of knowledge that you perhaps haven't thought about, because you don't know this. So suddenly, you've got a solicitor going, okay, we're buying X property, it's 250,000. Okay, have you sourced funding? Have you sourced this? Have you done this? Have you done this? Have you checked this?
Let's do the searches.
Let's do and they're asking you, 72 in-depth questions, and you're like, that's a lot of questions to ask. I mean, I hadn't really thought about that. Well, now's a good time to start thinking about it, because if they think it's important, you can guarantee that you should probably think it's important too.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of those things. And I mean, that all comes under the whole, your skill set is maybe people, people talking, negotiating. That might be your skill set. And if you're very, very good at that, stick to what you're good at. You can then, and that's the other reason for a power team, is you can focus on what you're good at, what you enjoy doing, the parts of the puzzle that you are fit for. It's no good me trying to talk to someone about their financial issues, their tax issues, or talking to them about their conveyancing issues. These are not my area of expertise. I do have areas of expertise, and that's what I talk about. And I have the ability to focus on that because there are other experts around me who are
absolutely
equally good in their own fields. Use
the right tool for the right job. Simple as that.
Yes.
You use a hammer for a particular job. You don't use a hammer for what you would use a screwdriver or a pair of pliers for. The same applies here. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it used to be called a Birmingham screwdriver, didn't it?
Yeah. So the next obvious question somebody may have is, well, I'm new, or I'm relatively new. I don't have a power team. How do I go around about finding a power team? Let's not talk about the right power team, because that's later. How do I find a power team?
So, I don't think anyone exists in a vacuum these days. When you've got access to social media, access to a wider community, and you can get a lot of information just by asking. Ask the right people. Yeah. I go, so Shaz, who's in your power team? How did you find them?
I'm not telling you.
Oh, okay. Well, that ends that conversation then, doesn't it?
No, you're absolutely right. So I think people have a plethora of avenues in order to be able to find experts, specialists, people who can help, assist, support them. So as you've mentioned, social media, extremely powerful team. Extremely powerful medium. Has its ups and downs and goods and bad bits, by the way, and we're not here to talk about that today. But use it for the right purpose, okay?
Maybe one week we'll do an episode on social media.
We'll need a lot of episodes in that case. A whole program on social media. And ask your, I use the word friends loosely, ask your friends on Facebook.
Your connections on Facebook.
Your connections on Facebook. And then if you're part of any Facebook groups, you can ask on there. You can use, I mean, I'm not here just to give Facebook a plug. You got LinkedIn, you got all the other Twitter, whatever you want to use, Instagram, Reddit, whatever you want to use, okay? Platform, number one. Number two, if you're going to networking events, ask there. If you're not, go to networking events. Three, let's say you've started looking for a property and the first person you speak to is a broker. Well, ask the broker. Do you know a good accountant? Do you know a good solicitor? Do you know a good builder? Because they've been doing this for a while, I assume, okay? And they'll have contacts. And if not, they'll say to you, okay, I can refer you to a good solicitor because brokers and solicitors usually work well together. And you think, how do I get to a broker? Well, if you're buying the property from an estate agent, ask the agent because they'll either have a broker or they'll know brokers because they've sold other houses, I assume. Of course they have. So one leads to the other.
Oh, but Shaz, I don't trust my estate agent because they're just in it for themselves. They're just in it for their own money. So they want me to use their broker because it doesn't matter whether he's good or bad. They just want me to use him because it makes the money.
Simple. Go to them, get a quote. They don't charge you, and then you'll have a friend somewhere who's bought a property and say if they've obtained financing and funding, which is what most people in this country do. Ask them who did you use and get a quote from them and compare which one's better. And then you can build some trust and say, okay, they're looking after my best interest. I think both of them will, with all things being equal, will try and get you the best deal based on my own experience because everybody wants to do a best job or a good job. And then ask them for leads on what you want. But the thing is, people never give a clear idea of what they're looking for. Oh, do you know a property solicitor? Well, what are you buying from auctions? Some people are good at buying auctions. Some are good at commercial. Some are good at buying through probate. Some are good at buying through liquidators. Some are good at just normal run-of-the-mill residential properties. Some are good at lower-end properties. Some are good at higher-end properties. Different people have to give a clear picture. This is the type of thing I'm buying. This is what I'm looking to do. This is the type of person I want who can help with this job here. Do you know somebody who meets that bill? Because the clearer your specific
in the detail.
Brief of what you're looking for, the more likely somebody will say, I've got the exact person for you for that job. But people don't. They say, oh, I need the solicitor. Well, in that case, you're just going to get 15 different recommendations. Some might be right, some might not be right. But so you got to have a bit of an idea or give somebody an idea of what you're looking for. So you've got networking. Then if you're in business yourself, you'll have clients who do certain things. You can ask them. They'll help and support you. If you've been on a course somewhere, and you've obviously got somebody stood at the front of the room when you go into a course, you can ask them. They'll have contacts and they can help and assist and support you. So slowly, if you've got nothing else, you'll have a bank account, and if you've got access to your bank manager, okay, you can ask them because that's what good bank managers used to do in the past. I know the banking changes to some extent now. So there's so many different ways, okay, of finding your first contact, okay, whether it could be a estate agent, whether it could be a broker, and they will lead you on to others. And by the way, sorry, Kieran, speak to 2 or 3. Don't speak to the first accountant and they say, oh, you're fine. Speak to 3. And I'm an accountant, I'm saying that. Speak to 3 solicitors. Speak to 3 of each. And then see which one best fits your style of working and best fits the type of thing you're looking to buy.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's being clear and communicative and not being afraid to be very ruthless almost about what it is you want. I want a solicitor who specialises in commercial conversions, that has done commercial conversions to the value of whatever it is you're purchasing, that has handled this, that, and the other issue, things that I have been told might be an issue. Well, okay, so suddenly I've got a list of criteria that I'm okay. Well, do you know what? I know someone who can do 8 out of 10 things on this list. Let me put you in touch. And it's really interesting that you mentioned speakers at events and things like that. Speakers at events generally, in my experience, are either really good mentors or really good coaches, and they've either done it or they know how to do it, and they're well versed in their topic, which means they also have a lot of contacts. But because they're all they're successful, that's why they're talking to you. Successful people like to help other people be successful.
Absolutely.
I have not met a true public speaker in my years around going to events and seeing people talk and listening to people talk and talking a little bit myself. Anyone that is up there, excuse me, Shaz, this is my situation, this is where I'm at. Do you have any advice on that? No, leave me alone. I've not met someone that does that.
Otherwise, there wouldn't be speakers, because innately you speak because you want to share knowledge and you want to help people.
The answer almost universally is, yeah, actually, I don't know too much about that exact subject, but
I know a man or a
woman or a person who does. Let me put you in touch. Give me your email. I'll drop you their email, whichever way around you want to do it, whatever works for your situation, their situation, whatever. And you make those connections for them, and you just go, oh, by the way, Bob, Joe, Rob, whatever.
Let me connect you.
Let me connect you with this person. I'll do the introductions, and then congratulations.
I've done that many a time.
Yeah.
And I've had it done to me is when I ask somebody something, I don't know the answer, but I know somebody does. Here you go. Let me connect you. People like helping out.
Yeah.
As human beings, we all like helping out where we can.
Yeah, they really do. And it also, because they've got those connections, you don't so often run into people that don't know it and then just try and fob it off. What I mean by that is, oh, yeah, that thing. Yeah, I know all about that thing. People are comfortable telling you they don't know, rather than pretending to know everything. And I think the
less people know, generally, the more they're likely to pretend they know more. The more people know, the less likely they are to pretend they know, because they know what they know and they don't know, and they're comfortable in their own skin, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'm generalizing, but this doesn't apply to every single person out there. No one statement can.
No. But yeah, like you say, people are generally, really, really helpful, and they want to help, so they push you towards the direction that you should be heading in. And that's what makes a power team so powerful, is that diversification of skill, that expansion, that links to different people, that growth that they can help you achieve. The
experience, the expertise, the knowledge.
And all of that.
Then they open your eyes to other opportunities. Well, you're doing this, how about this? Or I've got a deal here. I've had that so many times as well.
Yeah.
You're going to do this kind of stuff. I've got a client who's looking to sell this or looking for some support. Then they'll start connecting you. So they open up a new avenue in terms of diversification and opportunities that you would miss otherwise.
And that's why, don't try and do things alone. Utilize your power team and grow your power team, even if you're going to grow it from nothing.
That's good advice.
Thanks for listening to Wealth Made Simple. You can follow and contact Shaz on the Facebook pages Entrust Property Tax and The Profits Wizard. You can also find Shaz on LinkedIn, YouTube and Instagram. Alternatively, email him at shaz@aa-accountants.co.uk. Build your wealth by mastering money.